What is going on all today? We're going to put this Cooler Kitchen cutting board to the test. We're going to really go to town on this puppy because there are a couple things that, I really like to check out before I, decide on which cutting board I'm going to use. And there's a lot of things to look in. One of the things that impressed me about Cooler Kitchen, they just sent me this cutting board that's got a lot going for it actually, but I really want to test it out to make sure it's lives up to the hype. One of the things that already impresses me about it is the height of the cutting board, which really helps. I guess it's not great for shoulder angles, but what this actually helps for is I don't know about you, but sometimes my other cutting boards are too low and there's some spillover that gets on the counter, which I'm not a big fan of. You know, so the other main benefit that they advertise about this cutting board is this. This is so cool. So there's a convenience and hygiene factor of this cutting board. One, this is kind of cool. And the first tip I've got when using this cutting board is you want to position it where the logo is, like for me, the logo is facing this way, not just so you can see it, but also because I want the opening for these to be where there's a lot of room. Do not make the mistake that I have done before, in which you are cooking and you're cooking multiple things and your countertop space gets full and you don't want to have to go from this angle to have to actually move things aside and pull things out, right? So if you are on the other side of a countertop and your countertop space is this way and you've got floor room this way, like it ends over here, then you want the logo facing you. So that's my first tip on using this cutting board. This is great. And one of the things that is excellent about this is it can go in the bottom portion of the dishwasher. Usually this type of material, I thought I would have to put in the top rack, which is, clumsy for something this big. But the fact that I can actually put it like this in the bottom section of the dishwasher is great. I love it. All right. So I really want to test this out with something a little difficult. So I'm hoping this, look at this. It's kind of hard to get this back in here. I think because of the angle of how it works. Look at this. There we go. All right. So that's not as easy as it looks. Although it did come in a plastic bag, and I probably should not have taken them all out of the plastic bag. And that might have made things easier. There's no easy way to do this without doing that. And as you can tell, it's pretty heavy. It's really sturdy. I believe it's made of bamboo. It's beautiful. It actually goes with my kitchen quite well. So the main reason why I thought this would be useful is when I am cooking, I have to go through multiple cutting boards. I don't know about you, especially when I'm doing things like meat, which is what we're going to test this out on today. A couple things about meat. First of all, you don't want a cutting board that's going to slide. This has really good grip to it because as you're cutting, especially something meat that grips to this, if you're not using a sharp enough knife or a moon knife or something big, the cutting board tends to move along with your movements, and you're just really, because you have to cut meat like this versus chopping. So that's a problem. It's annoying and sometimes it's a little dangerous. Like I have had the knife slip, right? Especially if it's a not sharp enough knife, it slips and then it will go into your finger or something crazy. So that is one big thing. Another big thing is hygiene. So let's say I'm doing meat. I want to quickly be able to have a cutting board just for meat so I can quickly wash it or toss it in the dishwasher because that gets not too great pretty quickly. And also another thing why I appreciate these, and I'm not going to pull them out again, is to be able to quickly cycle through multiple cutting boards in one cutting board versus me pulling out, I've got a little one and then the big one and then, another little one, is sometimes I'm preparing multiple dishes at the same time, especially if I'm prepping for an episode of Rockstar Recipes and I'm just prepping ingredients. I'll have garlic down and all sorts of aromatic type things, and then I'll have to cut an apple or some fruits for a completely different dish that does not involve a garlic taste to it, which, garlic on your fruit actually is not that bad if you're expecting it, but when, the people eating your food are not expecting that, like in a dessert or something, it's a little jarring. And so then you have to switch out cutting boards for different ingredients because there's cross flavor contamination, not just for hygiene, but hygiene is actually the big thing. So like meat is great for having multiple cutting boards in one unit. So let's actually test this out. And one other thing that I'm hopeful this works for in the non-sliding around is, I don't know if you can see this, you can hear it. Suddenly an ASMR video. You can suddenly hear this waffle texture that it's got going on here. That helps the grip, and there's beveled, like it almost snaps in here. There's like a beveled area here and with little divots to actually pull things out. I'm kind of a little concerned about this, even though this is for my benefit. I don't know. There's not a great way to clean bamboo without staining it sometimes. So, but it's cutting board. It's going to get hurt. So another reason that I'm hopeful that this works well is I don't like to have the knife marks on a nice cutting board. This is obviously a nice cutting board, and this will actually protect my cutting board, even though that's what cutting boards are for. That's just me. All right, so what I've got here today is we're going to cut up a pork loin chop because I need to prep these for actually the food processor for an episode of Rockstar Recipes. I wanted some ground pork and I didn't want to pull out the giant loin, so I have to process a bunch of these chops that I don't plan on cooking. I don't have any pork chop episodes coming up, but I do have episodes that require ground pork, so why let the pork go to waste? So what we're going to do here is we're going to use this knife, which is not meant for meat. So this is the main thing I want to do with this cutting board. This is a not as sharp as it could be knife, and it's not the best knife for cutting meat. So normally there's going to be a lot of sliding around and a lot of dangerous activity. Like if this works, then I know that that this cutting board is a keeper for me. So here we go. Let's test this puppy out. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to keep some of this fat in. It's not easy to trim flat. All right, let's actually cut it this way. Look how my meat, if I cut it this way with the knife, the meat jerks around. Look at that. But the cutting board does not. I also see no scratch marks directly on the plastic, which is, again, much appreciated. I would like to remove that visible fat, but it's gonna get in the grind. It'll get ground up in there, although I prefer to get rid of it. It's such a thin layer of fat that this knife is not going to allow me to separate, so we'll just eat it. All right, so as you can see, I mean, I am cutting this all willy-nilly with a knife that is not meant for this, and the board is not moved at all. This is great. There's no juice spillage or run over at all, which means it's quite level. And then now, when I'm done processing, of course I've got a dozen of these to do, but when I'm done processing this, I can actually now lift this off, sanitize it, and pop it in the dishwasher. And then pull out another one for the garlic and the limes and all that other stuff. All right. All right, Cool Kitchen. I am quite impressed. This is definitely a keeper. Thank you.